The spectacle, as Debord described, thrives on our passive consumption of images and our unthinking reactions. The thoughtful response is the direct opposite of that. It is the act of questioning, of digging deeper, of seeking the human truth beneath the manufactured image. It is the difference between seeing a news headline and immediately sharing it in outrage versus stopping to ask who benefits from this story and what context is missing. It is the shift from envying a curated social media life to wondering about the person behind the profile and the moments of struggle never shown. This journey leads us to a new clarity, one that is far more nuanced and resilient than our initial simple view. We don't end up with all the answers, but we gain a new way of seeing. The world is still full of ads, arguments, and symbols of status, but we are no longer naive consumers of them. We understand that these things are often representations designed to shape our behavior and desires, to separate us from our own authentic experiences and connect us to a manufactured narrative. The new clarity is realizing that our power lies in that space between the stimulus and our response. It is in that pause where we reclaim a bit of ourselves from the spectacle. We start to make choices based more on our genuine needs and values and less on the implanted suggestions from the world of images. Life becomes less about acquiring the symbols of a good life and more about cultivating the actual experience of it in all its messy, unphotogenic, and beautifully real humanity. This is the quiet rebellion Debord hinted at, not a dramatic overthrow, but a daily, conscious decision to see and live differently. Through this discomfort, we begin to notice something subtle shifting within ourselves. It's not a loud, dramatic change, but a quiet recalibration. The things that used to trigger an immediate, anxious response start to lose their power over us. We might find ourselves in a situation that would have previously sent us into a spiral of worry, and instead, we feel a strange, newfound calm. It's as if we've been carrying a heavy bag for miles without realizing it, and we've finally figured out how to set it down. This isn't about becoming a different person. It's about the real us finally having the space to emerge from under the weight of all those expectations we thought we had to meet. This process of shedding those ill-fitting skins is deeply personal, yet it connects us to a universal human experience. We start to see that so much of what we thought was our own unique anxiety or insecurity is actually a shared condition. We were all playing by a set of rules we never agreed to, following a map that was drawn for a territory that doesn't even exist. And in recognizing that, a certain compassion begins to bloom, not just for ourselves, but for everyone else navigating the same confusing landscape. We understand that the person who cut us off in traffic, or the colleague who seemed short with us, is likely wrestling with their own version of the same script. This awareness doesn't excuse poor behavior, but it does drain the situation of its personal venom, allowing us to respond from a place of clarity rather than react from a place of hurt. As we practice this new way of being, making choices based on what feels authentically right rather than what looks impressively productive, a funny thing starts to happen. You'll likely find daily decisions coming easier. What to eat for dinner? What to do with a free hour? Which project to tackle first? These minor crossroads become less fraught with hidden meaning. They are just choices, not verdicts on our character. We begin to trust our own instincts again, that inner compass we buried under a pile of should and supposed tos. It's like rediscovering a native language we were told was inferior, but now realize is the only one that truly expresses the poetry of our own soul. This trust builds upon itself, creating a positive feedback loop. The more we act from this genuine core, the more evidence we gather that things actually work out, often better than when we were trying to manipulate every outcome. We start taking small risks, saying no to an invitation that feels draining, or saying yes to a silly idea that sparks joy. Many notice old frustrations don't bother them as much. The long line at the grocery store becomes a few minutes of people watching instead of a personal affront. The misplaced keys are a minor puzzle to solve, not a catalyst for a day-ruining meltdown. The volume on life's constant irritations gets turned way down, not because the world has changed, but because our internal receiver has been retuned to a more peaceful frequency. This isn't to say that life suddenly becomes an effortless paradise. Challenges still arrive, and grief and pain are part of the human contract. The difference is that we are no longer adding a layer of suffering on top of the inherent difficulty of a situation. We're not blaming ourselves for getting sick or believing a personal failure caused a global economic shift. We meet the world as it is, and we meet ourselves as we are, with a lot more grace and a lot less resistance. We stop fighting the current and learn how to swim with it, discovering a strength we didn't know we had, because we were always exhausting ourselves trying to swim upstream. This journey inward, back to ourselves, inevitably changes our relationships with others. We might find that some connections naturally fall away. The friendships built solely on shared complaint, or the familial bonds held together by guilt and obligation, begin to feel thin and unsatisfying. It can be painful, this quiet drifting, but it makes space for something new. We become magnets for more authentic connections, attracting people who appreciate us for our realness, not our performance. Our conversations get deeper, moving from gossip and small talk to ideas, dreams, and mutual support. We learn to set boundaries, not as walls, but as gates that define who we are and who we welcome into our lives. This entire transformation is about reclaiming our attention, the most valuable resource we possess. For so long, we've rented out our minds to every app, advertiser, and alarm bell that demanded it. We've been spectators in our own lives, watching a highlight reel of everyone else's curated existence, while feeling our own was lacking. Pulling our attention back from the frantic spectacle of modern life and investing it in our direct experience is the most radical and rewarding act we can undertake. It's the move from being a passive consumer of reality to an active participant in creating it. Together we discover that this isn't a destination, but a manner of traveling. It's a continuous practice of checking in, of gently guiding our focus back from the abstract worries of the future or the rumination on the past, and into the vivid, textured reality of the present moment. The feel of the sun on our skin, the sound of a loved one's laughter, the simple satisfaction of completing a task. This is where life is actually lived, not in the anxious narratives we spin in our heads. This reclamation of our own experience is the deepest form of freedom, a liberation that happens internally long before it manifests externally. It is, as the philosopher Guy Debord so perfectly understood, a freedom that is both profound and palpable, like finally taking off shoes that never quite fit.